All right. So, as kind of a theme we've done the last couple of years, we've had Jalen Knowles' mom on. We've had a couple other parents on. I found this guy on Twitter because he's pretty. It seems like their family's pretty excited about being Cyclones, and
Yes, sir.
I as a parent of athletes, I kind of like to put the human side to this a little bit. When we interviewed Jalen's mom, that's exactly what I wanted to do. So. This is Chase Sowell's dad, Ronnie. He's just one of our new Cyclones that we added through the portal this year. And I reached out to him on Twitter and asked him if he'd like to come on and kind of talk about his son and his family a little bit. And that's how we kind of come on. So welcome to Cyclone Nation, Mr. Sowell.
Thank you. Thank you. Happy to be here.
So tell us a little bit about your family, about your journey, how you ended up. I know your son Chase started at Colorado.
Right.
You're from Tech. You played baseball at Florida. I think your wife was an athlete at Florida as well. So he's got the DNA. It sounds like. So tell me a little bit about your journey, how you ended up at Iowa State.
Okay. Short story. I'm originally from Gainesville, Florida. I played baseball there. I was a big time football guy growing up, and but in the 80s and 90s, I got involved in some things I shouldn't have got into. That ended up costing me my football career. And then I went on and I played. I kind of picked up the game of baseball and went to a junior college, and then I ended up playing baseball at Florida. Got my degree, got into teaching and that type of thing, and then my wife, Chase's mom, played soccer at Florida. She's a four-time All SEC, four-time SEC champion, and a national champion.
Holy smokes!
Um, yeah, so I tell a lot of people we ended up meeting because her friend Abby Wambach actually took the car, so I had to give Keisha a ride home. So every time she sees Chase, she tells him that she's the reason he's here, which is pretty funny.
It
But my
is.
wife ended up playing. She played for the national team. She had a lot of success at Florida. Chase was always a big baseball guy. We grew up trying to coach him and play baseball, and but in the ninth grade, he was kind of like, well, I don't know if I want to play football anymore. And I was like, continue to play, man, and let's see how this works. So he ended up playing baseball is his first love, but he ended up playing baseball. I mean football. Continued to play football, and then he did really well. So he had a lot of offers. We did the perfect game and those type of things. A lot of showcases. He ended up making it to like the national showcase with the perfect game. He got a chance to go down to the Hank Aaron, worked out with like Ken Griffey, his
Oh wow.
dad. Even CC Sabathia was telling him he's a great kid. He's a great player. And my mentor is Ron Washington. He's the coach of the Angels right now. So we were a big baseball family, man. And so Chase didn't have a lot of offers here in Texas when we out of high school. So his last game in like the fourth round, I think, at halftime, I got a call and said Colorado had offered him. And so we were pretty excited. And then, he came to me later on after thinking about it and said he was giving up baseball. And I was like, oh my goodness, like, why would we do this? Like, but I've always taught him to be a man, and you got to make big boy decisions at some point in your life. And sometimes you're gonna make decisions where, other people ain't gonna like it, but you gotta, it's your life. There's no do-overs in life. So you make tough decisions. And again, he made that decision and we supported him. Goes to Colorado, everything was great. We had a tough year. He was actually playing a lot, and he tore his labrum. He actually had a torn labrum in high school, I think, while he was playing. I always laugh because he kept saying, Dad, my shoulder's not right. My shoulder's not right. I'm like, I don't want to hear it. Just keep playing. And so he went and got his physical one time, and they told him it was torn. And then I wanted him to sit out and get his surgery. He was like, Dad, I've worked too hard. Like I'm playing right now in college. So he played with a torn labrum, and then he ended up ripping it pretty bad his fourth game, and that's how he got the red shirt.
Gotcha.
And then the whole deal with Colorado, you know, it was a tough year. And then when they let Coach Darrell go, we had a rough season. You know, and that was the thing about that is everybody always said how bad we were, but we were freshmen. I mean, you had a lot of guys that left Colorado. It was a good team, but that's when kind of the transfer portal and
Right.
everything's kind of opened up, and then they changed. Some of the transfer rules were harder at Colorado, so it's harder to get guys in. But we were going up against guys with like freshmen. You know, Owen McCowan was his roommate. Remember Josh McCowan?
Yes, right.
So his son was Chase's roommate, and Jordan
wow.
Tyson and Chase were you know, young kids at Colorado, and Chase got to Colorado at 17 years old. So did Jordan Tyson.
Wow.
So those guys could have had another year, but you know, they had just a lot of learning. But you know, and obviously when Prime came in, Chase did pretty good, but he was still injured. And at that point, you know, he understands it's a business, and Prime they're trying to win right now. So we ended up going to East Carolina in the transfer portal, and you know, that was a tough time, you know, because you basically got cut in front of the whole country. You know, he was on that video, the Louis video. He was on that video. He was in the room at that point.
Really?
But like I told him, man, you have to. These are great lessons for you, even though they hurt. You understand it's a business, and it's like people are now saying, you know, you got to be loyal, you got to do this, and I'm like, listen, this is a business, and if you're talking about playing in the NFL, they'll cut you tomorrow. Like,
right.
So you got to grow up and you got to deal with it. And he did that. He went to East Carolina. Real good experience there, you know. And Coach Darrell Roberts, great coach. He did a great job with Chase. And so, but again, then we had some more problems. Couldn't win a couple games. Injuries, you know, in football, man, you have a couple injuries, it could change your whole season.
Yeah.
And
all you
sometimes
got to do is look at our linebacker room this
Yeah.
year, and that's exactly the way it is. Yeah.
And so, you know, had a tough year, but this year we bounced back. I had a pretty good year, and you know, the guys came together. They made a bowl game, and so. But our biggest thing is Chase's ultimate goal was to be in the NFL, and you have to do the things that are going to help you move in that direction. You know what I'm saying? And so, with that being said, you know, he had a lot of opportunities to go see a. You know, he wanted to get back to the Power Four. You know, because he had BYU. It was BYU and East Carolina at first. You know, but Chase, he's more about the coaching and the people who are going to develop him. So BYU had all the bells and whistles. It was a great coaches, all that type of stuff. But he just said, like, I feel more comfortable with Coach Roberts. I like the town, and he chose that. You know, he chose East Carolina. Kind of like in this situation, you know, he had a visit to Florida set up, and that's my hometown, my mom, my parents, everybody. But you know, he knew what he wanted. He wrote down the things that he wanted out of a school before, you know, he chooses a school. So he wrote all those things down. And then, you know, when he got to Iowa State, those guys, I mean, they checked all the boxes. And I was like, man, let's just go on a visit to Florida, please. Like, but his thing was, you know, Dad, I know what I want. And I want to find a place, get in there early, learn the playbook, so then I can help try to win some titles. And that's what Coach Campbell, when we sat down with Coach Campbell and Mauser, you know, Coach Pollard, like everything was what he wanted. And then when we went out to dinner with the guys, Rocco and Jalen and Jalen, like it was good. And then I talked to Moses, you know, Anthony Beck. I talked to a lot of guys that have been through it, because, you know, when you're recruiting, you want to hear from the coaches, but you also want to hear from people around. Because I always like to hear about the worst case scenario. Don't just give me all the good stuff. I want to know when it goes bad, you know, who can we count on? And so that's why
Yeah, to look
That's
at the
how we
wards
ended up.
too. Yeah.
That's it. That's it. So I'm pretty excited, man.
Yeah, I can
Um, and-
tell. I mean, I've been following your tweets and, you're asking people about game day things, and somebody sent you a video from the Kansas State game, where it was about 20 degrees out, and I was sitting in the stands
that's
for that
crazy.
one. And it was fun. I'm an Iowa guy. I'm an Iowa State
Right.
alum, and I'm a fan. This is not my job. I mean,
Right.
I've got a real, but so I've sit in the stands like every other normal person, and I've been to games that were colder. I'm going to be honest with you. I
Right.
mean, I
Right.
remember a couple Kansas State games in late November that were a lot colder than that one. But I think that I've talked to I talked to Mark Tampa, TJ's dad, one time, and I said, how's TJ handling this Florida to Iowa winter thing? And he goes, he loves the snow. And he was going on and on about how much he loved the cold. And I said, well, get him up here to where I live and I get him on a snowmobile someday. And he goes, I don't even want him driving a car in this thing, let alone a snowmobile.
Oh, man.
Yeah. So
that was a big concern for me.
What's that?
I say, me being a Florida guy, that cold was a big concern for me. But man, once I got there, it wasn't as bad as I thought it was. I looked at my phone; it was like 7 degrees. I was like, I mean, it was cold, but it wasn't as bad as I thought. But when the wind blew, oh my goodness, it was rough. It was rough.
Well, I don't know if you saw the warm-ups to the Kansas State game, but Higgins and Knoll and all of those guys went out for pregame with no shirt on.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Just to kind of show, we can handle this and we're not intimidated by it. It'll be
that's crazy.
I'm sure that was a painful thing though, when your son's saying, "Hey, Dad, I don't want to go to Florida and visit. I'm going to say names instead." I'm pretty sure that was a tough pill to swallow.
Oh man, that was tough because I since he was young, I've always wanted him to be a Gator. You know what I mean? Since he was young, that's my school. I'm a Gator, man. I love Florida. That's my hometown. But I was more proud of him for learning how to be a man.
Sure.
Like even standing up, like saying, "Dad, listen, that's your school, that's Mom's school, but Iowa State is my school."
That's
and
awesome.
When he was saying that, I just, I get goosebumps now thinking about it, because you always want your kid to be a man about things. And then like I told him, you're going to have the criticism, but that's a good thing. Like at some point, to do anything great, you have to upset some people. And so that's okay. And he can handle that. And we've been able to handle it. And like I said, you focus on the people that want you, to succeed. And there's a lot of people at East Carolina. There's a lot of people at Colorado that still follow Chase. They send me DMs. They're so proud of him. They're like, they're going to get Iowa State gear. It's so fun. Just like when you play Colorado, we don't want you to win, or you know what I mean? Those type of things. ECU, CU, and there's a lot of people that really still root for you. And, so it depends on who you're trying to listen to. You know what I mean? And Chase is very focused when it comes to that type of stuff. He's a kid that I posted a lot. Like he was in like the 7th grade. He was like the last guy on the track in a track meet. And I just said, listen, you just continue to run your race. Whether you're way behind or way in front, you continue to run your race. And so when I met Coach Campbell, we're a lot alike. We're very straightforward. We're not trying to hurt somebody else's feelings, but we're going the direction that we're going. And if that upsets you, that upsets you. But if I'm doing something on purpose to try to hurt your feelings, that I feel bad about that. But if I'm trying to reach my goals and you get your feelings hurt, that's your problem. I don't care. And I've watched Chase do that. Like it did hurt my feelings that he didn't go to Florida. A visit, but he didn't care. He said, "Dad, I need to hurry up and learn his playbooks because I want to be ready. Like I'm on a mission." Like I was just like, that's what we've always wanted. And then he loves it. And then I was trying to find out the, like the history and everything. And then the more I started seeing, and it's great because the fans started sharing what they was like from their phones. So then you get caught up on a lot, and I'm trying to make sure I don't offend anybody. But I'm learning the history too, and it's been great because people send me DMs and it's been awesome because I'm learning. I didn't know anything about the Jack Trice, until once I saw that, I was very moved because I played in the SEC, and a lot of times playing baseball in Alabama, Tennessee, Arkansas, Mississippi, those are tough times, and I can tell you, like, because I had a lot of good friends on the team, that they helped me through a lot of times. But some of the stuff you hear in the stands, some of the stuff you hear at a restaurant, some of the stuff you hear when you get off the bus, like, and you can't really say anything. I can't respond. It's really hard to explain to people how you can be so upset about going 0 for 3, but now I got to deal with a whole different type of, energy after the game.
Sure. Right.
Because hating me because I'm a Gator is one thing, but hating me because of the color of my skin was another thing. But, at Florida, I mean, I had a lot of great friends. Coaches were, they help you through a lot of that stuff. And times are a lot better, but, I just couldn't imagine how bad it was when he played. Because, I mean, there's some nights, man, you get to a point where you don't even want to go to sleep because you don't know what could happen, and you don't bring a lot of that stuff up because because people, it starts some things, but sometimes it needs to be, you got to speak on it because that was my reality. And so those are things too. What I tell Chase is like, somebody complaining on Twitter is nothing like what I dealt with. You know what I mean? And what I dealt with was nothing like what Jackie Robinson dealt with.
Right.
And what Jackie Robinson dealt with was nothing like Jack Trice dealt with. So I cheer up because I'm like, I'm in a better place than a guy that was,
Yeah, we've really, I mean, as a lifelong Cyclone fan, that whole Jack Trice story, I get chills just thinking about it. I mean, it was something that we've really embraced, and we're really proud of the fact that we've honored him with the with the legacy and all the logo, and we wore the throwback uniforms back then, and so the whole fan base is all in with honoring Jack Trice and everything that went along with it. I mean, I'm a firm believer that you don't scatter the cockroaches unless you turn on the light, and so and so if you don't talk about it, it ain't going to change. And so that's why I mean it's. I don't know. This is a whole nother podcast, my man. I mean, we could talk about this.
Exactly. I'm just saying, it's awesome, man. It's awesome that so many people, because you can't make something like this happen if there's only, 10, 15 people. There had to be a lot of people working to make this happen. So these are some of the reasons we're so happy to be a part of our state.
And when you brought up, you're talking about decisions, and it's a hard thing to tell you, I'm not going to Florida, and giving up baseball for football. You and I both know as fathers, you got some decisions that are a hell of a lot harder than that coming up in your life. And so, if you can handle that the right way, I mean, more power to you. I mean, that obviously shows a lot about you and your wife and how you're handling your family and everything else. So, I'm even more excited having your son come. I mean, knowing the character that that he's been raised with and everything. So what tell me about Chase's game. I mean, is he somebody that is going to love to catch across the middle? Is he going to be our deep threat? Is he somebody that we're going to throw it to him and he's never going to drop it, which never is going to happen, but I mean, what I'm saying? I mean, what do you think is his specialty?
Well, his specialty, I think, is making big plays. Whether it's catching the ball, whether it's blocking, whether it's selling a fake, like he just wants to win. And I think that comes from playing baseball a lot, where you have to pay attention to so much detail. But him being able to track the ball downfield, he loves that. He loves to make blocks. But he is a physical receiver that I mean, he wants to score, he wants to win. Like, that's his thing. I mean, I think they'll move him around. He can play in the backfield, he can throw the ball if you need him. He can, know what I mean? I mean, he think about it, he threw 90 plus as a baseball player.
Wow.
So, Yeah, he's
Holy smokes.
6'4", 200 pounds. Like he can do a lot of different things. And then with this coaching staff, that's what I like. They move guys around. They try to like do different things. And but his IQ is really good. His trainer is David Boston.
Oh wow.
So
Yep.
he tries to teach him a lot of things about how to play the game a certain way, how to line up, try to set guys up, what it's going to take to get in the NFL. So that's what I'm saying. He just does a lot of different things where he wants to do what it takes to win the games. Like he doesn't have to have the ball every time. If somebody else is cooking, he's like, look, get him the ball. If he's cooking, get me the ball. Like if the running back's running it, like he just wants to win, man. And I think that is a testament to his high school because they won a lot. Playing 6A Texas football here in Houston.
All right.
You have to win. Like, I mean, so you just kind of do what you have to do, because if the other team is going to stick your way. Go ahead.
Growing up in Texas, how old was he when he played his first tackle football game?
Ooh, he was man, I want to say Chase was maybe 8 or 9.
Yeah.
8 or 9. He got a rude awakening.
Yeah,
he's got a rude awakening. They onside kicked the ball to one side, and they sent another guy to hit him from a blind side. Man, they split his tongue open, and so I was kind of like, "You sure you want to play this?" But he got up. Hey, he wanted to go back in the game. I was like, "Okay, we can probably do this then."
So, are you familiar with Seneca Wallace?
Yes.
Yeah, so we've interviewed him. He was playing when I've got one of the most well-known Iowa State alums we've got, and his kids play in Texas now, and so I follow him on social media, and he's got a son named Cruz. His son was as fast as Seneca. It seems like he's going to be as fast as Seneca because he's playing he's in Texas playing little kids tackle football. It's kind of wild, but
it's crazy.
So what's your son want to go into when football's done? What's he want to do?
Communications, journalism. He would like to do like podcasting,
Really?
TV, just saying some of the stories and stuff we've been through. Some, getting a chance to let people kind of voice, some of the stories, because some things are just hidden until you actually sit down with someone and talk to them. So he does a good job with that. He's met so many people. He has. He knows what it's like to be the last guy picked, and he knows what it's like to be even like the portal. Like he knows what it's like to get cut in front of everybody. He was in the transfer, but he didn't choose to go there. Coach Prime he wanted to go in a different direction. But then in this case, he had every school calling it, all the big schools, everybody in the SEC, but he can express to people what it feels like. He can talk to people what it feels like. So that's one of his biggest things is being able to help. He loves helping kids too.
So what do you personally think of the portal? I mean, what's your personal opinion about? Because you and your son are kind of in you can remember what it was like before it was a portal, and now you're in the middle of the Wild West. What's as a parent, as a father of a player? I mean, what's your opinion of the portal in general?
I think it's a good thing. I think it's just free agency. But when you're doing that, you have to figure out what's your worth, right? Like if you're going in there and you're a receiver and you're running a 5 flat, you probably don't need to be in the portal because, a lot of people aren't going to pick you. But if you're running a 4.3, 4.2, now how many people are going to offer you? Like it's real simple. Everything's simple. It's not easy, but it's simple. Like everybody's trying to make all these things so hard. It's not. If you're the best guy, you're going to go somewhere. It's like when I grew up in the projects, it was rough, right? They would always be like, well, only 1% make it to the pros. I said, well, tell me how many All-Americans make it. How many All-States guys make it? Stop telling me about everybody because everybody doesn't have what I have. So, if you're built like DK Metcalf, I don't want to hear about 1%. All the guys built like DK Metcalf, they go pro. And so it's like Chase, like we said, you're 6'4". If you can run a 4.3, you're going to get drafted high. But if you're a 6'4" and you run a 5.2, nobody wants to and you're not going to stay at Iowa State. Next year, Coach Campbell going to come and say, hey, look, we're moving on. So the portal is it's simple to me. It's like it's no different than being on the playground. Like the best guys are gonna get picked first.
So what do you think about these kids though that don't have the guidance that you're giving Chase? You know what I mean? So you got kids
Right.
that are somebody's blowing smoke up them and saying, you should be playing or whatever, and then they go into the portal, and when the music stops, they don't have a place to sit. I mean,
Right. But
that
again,
concerns me.
yeah, again, you know, if you're not fast when you're on the field, you know who's the guy and who's not.
Oh, sure, right.
You know that as a player. Like when I was at Florida, they signed a couple guys. I watched them take batting practice. I'm like, oh, okay, I need to get to work. This guy can play.
Yeah.
But other guys start hitting. I'm like, man, they say that this guy's great. They tell me he's a 5-star, but I don't. Your 5-star ain't gonna be out here with you when we compete. So you know that, but there's guys jumping in the portals, and you know you haven't put in the work. You know you haven't played. So you know right from wrong, man. I mean, you know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, like that's what I try to tell Chase. Things are simple. They're not easy. At that point, you were not the best guy for Dion. So you got cut, right?
Yeah.
You go and you're the best guy, at East Carolina, one of the best guys. If you're that guy, you're gonna have opportunities. But it's the same thing in life, right? Like if you go to college, if I go to Stanford and I don't put in the work, I don't make the grades, they're gonna cut you.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
why is this a hard thing? I don't get it. You know what I'm saying? And I think I'm a little bit different because I grew up without a dad in a rough environment. So you had to understand, like, if I walk to this store, I'm gonna probably have a problem with this group of guys over here. You know what I'm saying? So you can either keep walking or you can say, I got to find another way, or you're going to sit back and wait. But as I got older, I was walking to the store and nobody was going to stop me. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah, I do. Yeah, exactly.
So everybody keep trying to make it like it's hard thing. No, if you're not the best guy, don't go in the portal. Now, what I don't like is when they get rid of the coach and then they want everybody to just, oh no, you just stay here. Like, well, how do I know the next guy gonna like me or not?
Right.
And that's what kind of happened with us in Colorado. You don't know. There's nothing against the new coach, but you might not be the guy. So if somebody, at another school is saying, hey, look, we want you, then why wouldn't you go do that? Because the other guy may not want you. You see what I'm saying? So
yeah, I do. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I think, but the fact that you've been around, I mean, you're a baseball scout today, correct?
Yep.
Did I read that right?
I help out. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, you've been around sports and people trying to get to the next level your entire life, and you get it. But I think there's a lot of kids out there that aren't getting those messages. That's just my opinion. I'm just guessing. I used to be a high school.
You're right. But here's what I'm saying. With social media and all these type of things, you have more avenues to go get the right information now.
Oh, yeah.
You can look on YouTube. You can call a guy like myself. You can ask a guy like Chase. You can DM him and say, hey, look, you went through this. Hey, look, what do you think I should do? He might say no, but go ask another guy. Yeah. Go ask another guy. And that's what we did. You know what I mean? And those are a lot of things where I think like our kids are falling behind because they might look at you and go, well, you're older, so you don't really understand, what I'm going through. And it's like, no, somebody's going through what you've gone through. You just have to ask them about making decisions. And so my thing is always just lay it down. Like I said with Chase, you have your boxes. If every that school checks off your boxes, then stay there. And I hated it because it came back to bite me in the butt with Florida. You know what I mean? But
yeah,
that's what I'm saying. You got to listen to people who've done it. I went and got David Boston because he could help Chase on how to be a big receiver. It doesn't do him any good to learn how to run routes like a smaller guy. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
right. Because
he's not that type of athlete. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But if he learns how to play with his body, big body, that's what he learned how to do. So David Boston is the guy to teach him. If you want to learn how to catch a ground ball, I go to Ron Washington and say, hey, how do you catch this ball? I I don't listen to the newest guy on Twitter because he has all the nice gloves and he has all the
Right.
and that's what's happening. Like guys are just getting advice from like how many think about it, how many people have called you and said, hey, look, can I have some advice on, on the portal? You've talked to other parents and stuff like think about it. How many guys have asked you?
Yeah, there's some kids out there that are listening to the guys that are all hat and no cattle, to use a Texas term. I mean,
I like it. I like it.
I mean, so it's I mean, so since you've been in the middle of this for 3 years now, what do you think we could do to improve the whole process?
Well, I think like having a timeline that's better, because like you're telling guys to transfer during the bowl game at the end of the season, those type of things like that, guys are having to make tough decisions. I think having a better timeline would work. Also having like, when I was coming out, they used to have like a committee before you decide to go pro or not. Like you would sit down with the committee. It might be a academic advisor. It might be a parent. It might be a coach. It's like a group of people that kind of sit with you and say, hey, look, I think this is a good idea. We don't think, you know what I'm saying?
At your school, you mean? I mean, like Florida would have had, okay.
Yeah, you have guys that you had a group of people that you talked to before. Even the agents would have to come in and sit down and talk in front of these people, and they could say that this is a good deal, this is not a good deal. I think just having a group of people that people can go to. And then it's hard too now because some of the coaches are saying, yeah, you can go in the portal, but you can't come back. And then some coaches are saying, yeah, go ahead and see what's out there and then you come back.
Right.
But you're making guys having to make a decision sometime with some of those coaches saying you can't come back. You know what I mean? So that makes it harder, I think, on the kid. But I think kids would be more open if coaches would say, like, okay, well, if you don't get this, then come back. And same thing with the schools. Like, if the schools really want a kid, they talk to the kid and say, hey, look, let me match whatever they're going to offer you. You know what I mean? Like, whatever that school's going to do, let me match that. But I just think it's like anything, being educated, that's what we have to do with the kids is be able to talk to people that've gone through it and then say, hey, look, what do you suggest? Now you make your own decision, but at least ask, you know what I mean? I'd say, like just your closest people that have helped you get to this point and say, hey, look, what do y'all think I should do?
Yeah, I also think it's hard on the coaches too. I mean, that portal window is so small.
Yes.
Let's use Iowa State as an example. You're getting ready to play Miami in a bowl game,
right.
And you're turning into a minor GM almost because you got to evaluate talent and pick who you're going to offer during this whole small window of time frame. I mean, I think you nailed it. I mean, I think the opening the portal during the bowl games is a total disaster. I mean, I don't get it. I do get part of it because they need to get them to school and enrolled before the second semester starts. That's probably going to be part of it. But let's be honest. I mean, the school part of it, most people aren't even talking about right now. I mean, when was the last time you heard somebody refer to them as student athletes, for crying out loud?
Exactly.
I mean,
exactly.
That's just been pushed. I mean, when was the last time you heard of a football player, basketball player, whatever, being declared academically ineligible? I do not remember the last time.
No,
I mean, they used to be. Like I said, I've been an Iowa State fan my whole life, and I knew we had some guys that were on the fence, during my lifetime academically. And you'd wonder at the end of the after the first semester, we come back after Christmas break, are they still going to be there or not?
Right.
And nowadays, it's not, nobody even discusses it. It's not even an issue. So. Yeah, I mean, I think that portal thing in the middle of the bowl season is unfair to everybody. I don't think it's fair to the kids. I don't think it's fair to the coaches, and I don't think it's fair to the fans.
Well, and the parents too.
And the parents,
because
exactly.
like I'm trying to figure out what to do with Chase. My oldest son he's in high school, and I'm trying to help Chase with decisions. Now I got to, you worry about helping him move. Then you talk about the whole financial stuff and investments and taxes and. Like there's a lot of things where you're trying to hurry up and and do things. But again, like I said, you start talking to people who've done it. You know what I mean? Like for me, I that's what I have to do. But I just think if they move that window, try to find a different time, and get with a group of people and say, hey, look, what's best for the coaches? You know what I mean? That's what I'm saying. All the coaches sit down, you know, people at NCAA sit down and just listen to each other, and then try to find I always talk about the 101 principle that I like to use. Like, let's find 1% that we agree on and put 100% into that, as opposed to everybody getting in the room and decide like all these different things, what's best for me. Let's just find the 1% that we'll do, and let's put 100% into that. And if we all want the kid to be successful, like let's sit down and go through that. And again, it's tons of money being out there, but this would help so many people. You know what I'm saying?
You brought up a word that I've brought up on this podcast many times that I've never got an answer for. But who is showing these kids or educating them on taxes? Because you're throwing all this money. Some of these kids are getting all of this money. Is somebody educate, or is it go back on the parents to try to make sure that they're paying Uncle Sam at the end of the day with this NIL stuff?
Yeah, you have people that give you advice, like the team, Iowa State, they can recommend people to us. We have agents, we have other friends who've had success, former athletes like, David and stuff like that. You start asking, different questions because, you can get in a lot of trouble not knowing that if I play in LA, I have to pay taxes and, so again, you got to listen to people who've been there. Like, again, all this stuff isn't hard if you learn to listen. Like, that's the biggest thing I told Chase. Like, hearing is something that you just have, but listening is a skill. Like, being able to stop and say, hey, Craig, now can you explain that to me again?
Right.
And so, but a lot of people are offering it, but some of the people, they don't want to hear it. It's just, they kind of like, well, I know what I'm doing with my money, or I got my cousin that'll do it. And
right. I mean, that's what scares me with this whole NIL thing is that there's going to be kids out there that don't have the experience that you do, that get thrown money for the first time in their life, and they don't pay attention to the whole tax thing. And then the IRS doesn't give two rips what you run your 40 in. I mean, they want their money. And
they're going to get it.
And they're going to get it. Exactly. They're either going to get it or they're going to throw you in jail for not paying it. I mean, that's the thing that scares me the most.
But the good thing is now people are actually at 20 years old. Chase is actually talking about an LLC or what, like because if I would have talked to him about that before, he'd have been like, man, like that, I don't want to hear that. But when he comes in the room and is, hey, what's an LLC? And so it's a whole different conversation now with my son that I'm having, and then the younger brother is learning too. So it's helping some people, and then you feel bad for some other people. But if you go work for a major oil company here, you might make $200,000 and don't know how to handle your taxes.
Correct. So, yeah, no, exactly.
It happens, but it's just you're just always hoping that these kids learn and don't like ruin this opportunity, because it's life changing. Like that's what I told Chase. Going to Iowa State is life changing.
Well, I mean, I hope Chase, he probably knows from, I've never met Chase. I've never talked to him. I hope he realizes what you're doing for him. I mean, you personally, I know kids when they're in their 20s, they don't think we know jack about anything.
That's true.
And so my oldest is going to be 30, my youngest is 20. And so I've kind of seen both ends of the spectrum. And I know that, I hope Chase appreciates all of the guidance you're giving him, because he obviously is getting a lot of good advice, and especially the fact that, he had a chance to go to your alma mater, and you were cool with it. I mean,
don't remind me, man.
Well, I don't want to take up too much. I don't want to take up too much of your time. I really just wanted to make sure you knew you're welcome into the Cyclone family, and Thomas and I are just fans. And if you go back and we're not going to post this till after the bowl game, but in the opening, Thomas puts highlights of different plays, and he's got one of Jaden Higgins on it this year and Jalen Knoll, and so I'm hoping next fall when we redo the intro highlights that Chase is one of the guys that that ends up making the
Be
cut
awesome.
on that.
That'd be awesome, man.
So I appreciate
Well, hey,
your time.
Yep. Thank you for
If
having
there's
me,
ever you
man.
ever want to come
That's
back
cool.
on, reach out to me. It was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed talking to you, and good luck with the move with Chase up to Iowa.
All right, man. Hopefully I catch up to you at a game.
All right, sounds good. Appreciate
All
it.
right, man. Take it easy. All right.
See ya.
Go Cyclones. All right.
Yeah,
Bye.
go Cyclones.